It's always wonderful to be back here where we have the conversations that matter. I am so excited to be discussing a topic that, whether we want it to be or not, should be at the forefront of our minds and our hearts, and that is the state of immigration policy here in this country. I want to invite my panelists to come on out. If you would help me welcome Murad Awada, Reverend Robert Bush, George Escobar, Gerlin Joseph, Patrice Lawrence, Dorian Spence, Amadou Lee, and Latrice Cook. Let's give them all a hand. Before we get started, I've been thinking a good deal and frankly praying a good deal about this topic. For those of you who have not been with me here at NAM before, Monique Presley, I have a daily show, the Monique Presley Show, and I run a crisis management and communications firm in DC. And one of the things that we talk about frequently is humanity. Humanity. Not people who just care about things we care about, come from where we come from, look like we look, talk like we talk, eat what we eat, practice the same faith as us, but human to human, what rights are vested in us as part of the Constitution of the United States. And the gift that we have today is a group of people who have devoted their lives and are currently devoting their lives to the work of upholding and protecting human beings who are immigrants in this country so that they can have the same inalienable rights as any, and frankly, those of us who were born here need that same protection right about now. Can I get an amen, somebody? So whatever is going on right now in our immigrant population, we should care about, one, because it is our neighbors, it is our family, it is our friends, it is those we work with, those we practice faith walk with, but we also frankly need to care because what is happening with them, we're next. So I'm going to give my panelists, each of them, an opportunity to just quickly share 30 seconds worth of their work, starting from my far left, to introduce themselves, and then we'll hit our questions.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Robert Bush, and I am the president of the National Action Network in Las Vegas.
Good afternoon. My name is Latrice Cook. I am the president for the Central Texas chapter of NAN in Austin, Texas, the capital city. I am glad to be here. I'm also the founder and executive director for Milch Center, which assists for 23 years, which assists people who have previously been incarcerated and their families. I'm glad to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrice Lawrence, and I serve as the executive director for UndocuBlack Network. We're a national multi-generational network of currently and formerly Black undocumented folks from the Caribbean, from Africa, from all over the diaspora, and I've got folks in about 30 states.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dorian Spence. I am a civil rights litigator, and I serve as the litigation coordinator for Communities United for Status and Protection, which is a coalition of organizations that fight for permanent status for folks with temporary protected status that are living in the country. That organization or that coalition includes UndocuBlack and my co-panelist organization, Haitian Bridge Alliance, as well as African Communities Together, ADICAR, National Network of Arab American Communities, and Haitian Bridge Alliance.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you feeling? You could do better than that. This is post-lunch. How are you feeling? Good afternoon. My name is Murad Ouauda. I'm the president and CEO of the New York Immigration Coalition. We're an organization of over 200 member orgs across the state of New York, here fighting for all New Yorkers to ensure that we can all live with dignity and respect. Thank you for having us.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is George Escobar. So I am the executive director of CASA. CASA is an immigrant rights and services membership-based organization. We have offices in Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. And we work to empower our community and ensure they have full freedom. Thanks so much for having us.
Good afternoon, New York. My name is Gerline Joseph. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Haitian Alliance. We are an organization that advocates for the rights of people of African descent, and we bring together immigration, human rights, and racial justice for all people.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amadou Lee. I'm the founder of the Amadou Lee Foundation. And pretty much what we do, we fight for immigrant rights. Most of you heard of Canal Streets, events like that. When ICE raids places, we stand up and we fight for our people.
Murad, I think it's a good way to start with you because your organization is the largest state immigrant rights coalition in this country. Thank you for that and for your leadership. You represent over 200 diverse groups. I'm wondering if you can give us kind of a high-level overview of what the attacks have looked like under the current administration, the Trump administration. We call him a thing today. The war that's being waged on immigrants in this country, what have those attacks looked like, and what are some counter strategies that we should be thinking about to protect our communities?
Absolutely, and thank you. I think what we've witnessed over the past year and 3 months under this administration and this regime, to be specific, is over 600 anti-immigrant attacks from the federal government. 600, that is more than 2 a day since they've come into office. And that ranges from ending status, so making people undocumented, all the way to trying to ensure that immigrants can't have access to benefits, even if they are entitled to them, to waging war literally in the streets of cities across this country where they are murdering immigrants and US citizens alike. And what we have been seeing is this relentlessness of their cruelty. Because I want to be clear, this has never been about safety and security, and it never will be. It is about cruelty, and that is their point. And in administrations like the one we are facing right now, we are not veering into authoritarianism and fascism. We are in it. Every level of government that is supposed to be a check on the presidency has capitulated, and they are complicit in what we are witnessing right now. So Congress isn't stepping up and fighting back. We're not seeing our courts step up and fight the way they should. And what that puts us in a position of is ensuring that everyone who calls this country home is actually fighting for the country that we want to see it become. Because, oftentimes people forget that this nation was born out of a rebellion against the monarchy. And, this current iteration of this country. And for 250 years, this country will turn 250 years this year. It has fought for freedoms, but not everyone has gotten those freedoms. That promise has not been met. And it will need to take the citizens of this country to demand the freedoms for all. So some of the strategies we've been employing is ensuring that our local and state governments step up and actually fight back in a really meaningful way, and not just performative actions or saying a cute speech. We need action. And that's why this conference is so important and this convention is so important, because it's not just about power or talking about power, it's power in action, right? This is about justice, impact, and purpose, and we have to center those 3 values every time we do the work that we do. So at the state level, we have been fighting for the New York For All Act, which would prohibit the collusion of our state tax dollars with immigration enforcement. And if you haven't seen any of your state reps here, I saw a bunch of them outside, you should pull them over to the side and say, hey, where are you on New York For All, and what are you doing to make that a reality today? Secondly, if you see any of our city reps, who I saw some in the hallway as well, ask them how are they prioritizing our communities in the New York City budget? And how are they ensuring that our sanctuary policies are being strengthened and expanded, not weakened or sidelined by certain agencies? So every level of government has an opportunity to stand up and fight back. And democracies are only as strong as the people who make them. So if we're not stepping up to fight for what we believe in, no one else is gonna come and do it for us. And you know, that poem of they came for this group first, and I don't wanna continue the poem. No. We know how this government is operating, and we know that what they are trying to do is use immigrants as test subjects to get away with how many rights they can take away from everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you. Who in the audience knows the size of our immigrant population in the United States? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody willing to take an educated guess? How many? Immigrant population in the United States. Okay, I'm hearing 1 million, I'm hearing a percentage, I'm hearing 12 million. As of mid-2025, approximately 51.9 million immigrants live in the United States. Wow. 15.4% of the population. The so-called unauthorized or undocumented population is an estimated 14 million. So when we talk about a tax by the administration, we are talking about a tax on a group of people that are almost twice the size of our largest populated state. Patrice, hundreds of thousands of Black undocumented immigrants live in this country. The administration has ended TPS, you can tell us what that is, for majority Black countries and blocked visas for 85% of Caribbean nations. But my question to you is, what is the single most important step, now that we know how many people we're talking about, the single most important step that people in this room can take starting tomorrow to ensure Black immigrants are fully embraced and defended as part of our community?
Thank you, Monique. Patrice on DocuBlack, and I think the most important step is to make sure that what we do matches what we say, matches what's in your heart. And so we don't necessarily need the facts. We don't necessarily need the additional stories. Every single person in this room is maybe 1 degree removed from someone who is a Black immigrant and someone who at some point in their life had a visa status that was a little wonky. That's what I mean when I'm especially talking about people who are undocumented Black people. Folks who have temporary protected status, TPS, folks who may have DACA, all these names and acronyms that are being thrown around. But I think we have to ensure that Black immigrants are treated as they are, which is central to democracy and not separate from it. When we have what has been discussed here today, poll taxes, you need to get your passport, all these things that we know the SAVE Act and other things are saying for people to vote. When we have TPS being stripped away, when we have every single Caribbean nation as of January this year being banned from the US in some shape or form, we're in trouble. And they're going after Black people, and they're trying to see how far can they go with us, who may be a more vulnerable population, to then exact that in the larger population. It's like in and out, because Black people in America have had stories to tell. So it's really important that we treat it as central to democracy, and that when we fight for all. We name what's true, we demand what we need, and we invest in the populations that we say we care about.
Thank you. George, CASA serves a massive, diverse coalition. In 2026, we are facing heightened enforcement, the expansion of expedited removal, and intensified workplace raids designed to overwhelm community infrastructure. I don't think there's anybody who's living in this country now who lives in an area close to a Home Depot or close to a grocery store where they're not seeing these unexpected pop-up, don't make no sense, no criminal to be found type raids happening. CASA has a massive operation, legal services, rapid response, policy advocacy. How are you adopting and adapting to this specific moment? What are you doing differently now than in Trump 1? And what's your message to organizations that feel like they have to choose between direct service and political advocacy?
It's a great question. Thank you so much, Monique. I think, first of all, I want to give a lot of love to everybody that works in your social safety net, right? All those folks that work at food pantries, all those folks that work in community clinics, all those folks that work so diligently in providing legal counsel, pro bono and low bono, right? But at the end of the day, we also have to realize that that is a reflection of this government's choice to nickel and dime how they treat our most vulnerable communities, right? We have to realize that when you don't acknowledge the right, the universal right to health care, for example, or the fact that legal representation is something that the government should be paying for within the context of even the immigration court, you're seeing how you're putting that burden to really fulfill this country's promise on tiny, overburdened, underpaid, and under-resourced nonprofits across the country, right? This is not the way that this country is supposed to operate. While at the same time we're underfunding our most vulnerable communities, what do we have going on now in the Department of Defense, which has changed their name to the Department of War? Trillions of dollars, right? Trillions of dollars are being invested, and every year we see those budgets increase and astronomically, while we're seeing even the president say, you can't pay for health care. That should be taken care of by the states, right? All of us that work in the services sector and social services, we should be working every day to get out of that job, right? We should be working our way out of that job. And the only way to do that is through policy and advocacy. Policy and advocacy that is led by the leadership of the impacted communities that are being disproportionately impacted by those policies, right? And so at CASA, we're founded by an organization that's really founded upon 3 pillars. One is services, policy advocacy, and organizing. And all of those work in service to each other and complement with each other and build upon each other, right? It's necessary for us. We were able to build that infrastructure within our organization, but it's necessary at all times for all of us to be working together across those different pillars, regardless of what the particular jobs that we have. We may be only working in the services sector, we may be only working in the advocacy sector, but we gotta be working together, because at the same time, as we try to build leadership within our communities and build those leaders that are gonna change those policies over the long term, we got to make sure that they're taken care of in the short term, right? They need jobs. They need to sustain their families. They need legal counsel when they're being targeted by their landlords, when they're being taken away and kidnapped by this government, right? So we have to understand that we have to do our best to meet those needs at the same time that we got to push organize, and advocate. And in terms of how we've been adjusting to the moment and Trump 1 versus 2, I think in a lot of ways in Trump 1, we thought we really relied on the judicial branch of this government, right? We tried to do our best to delay the worst that can happen and try to bring in a lot of white shoe law firms to work with organizations such as ourselves, and brought up lawsuits in federal court, trying to protect DACA, trying to protect DPS, what we just heard about. Our first case at CASA that landed in the Supreme Court was to preserve the census, because Trump 1 was trying to not count people like us, any non-citizen, right? But what we found now in Trump 2, that's not enough. Those safeguards are not there anymore. Our judicial branch is crumbling, and we need to be proactive in creating the protective measures at the local, state level to disentangle local law enforcement from federal law enforcement, right? To disentangle that collaboration that happens at the local level that really supersizes the impact of those deportations, because those deportations would not be occurring if not for that collaboration that we're seeing at the local and state level. And I see a lot of champions out here in the audience. Shout out to Mr. Ivey, to Congressman Glenn Ivey, who's been in the streets with us, advocating and pushing ICE to be accountable and ensuring that disentanglement happens. And that's the work we got to be doing on a daily basis.
Thank you, George. I appreciate that. Reverend Bush, I got to tell you, out of all the questions I'm asking today, I was most excited about this one, because as I tried to put us in the seat of human-to-human care about the immigration issue, we can't ignore that in the Black and brown communities, there has been a level of frustration, there's been a level of friction, and frankly, the divisive nature of our current state of politics has been intentionally revving it up, intentionally trying to forge what should be community into animosity. We see in your area in Las Vegas that you rely heavily on immigrant labor. The culinary union has shown that when Black and brown folks get together, when we come together instead of being at odds, that great things can be achieved. Yet the wedge still persists. How do you speak to that frustration in a way that builds unity without dismissing real pain? And beyond just speaking to the frustration, how do you show others through your own example and your organization's example why they should care?
I think this is one of the hardest communication challenges in the public that we have right now. But I think with the numbers that you stated, it's probably extremely important. And I think we have to ask, because immigrants, most of us, most of our families, not our families, because the American dream, we weren't brought here because of the American dream. We were forced to come here as a people. But for immigrants, they came here because of the American dream, and I think we could start by asking, are we still selling the American dream? And because the administration is trying to kill the American dream. But we have to start by separating the sources of our pain, because we have to understand that immigration frustration is usually not about the immigrants. It's usually about economic status, economic anxiety, jobs, housing, wages, and housing costs. And then we have to talk about cultural change that happens faster than a lot of people can process it. And then we have to talk about a felt sense of immigrants and our people, where the rules aren't being applied fairly for everybody. And so immigration frustration is about distrust in institutions that are misleading. And so most of our frustrations, whether from long-time residents or immigrants, point to the same failed systems. It's all about failed systems. Underfunded public schools, low wages, housing scarcity, and then we have to change our focus to those areas where we're lacking rather than letting people aim at each other. And so I don't think that we should flatten our experiences. We have to first acknowledge that there is pain. Yes. And then unity doesn't mean pretending that everyone's all right. Unity means coming together. In Las Vegas especially, we consider ourselves bridge builders. God told us for our organization that we would be repairer of breaches. And we have to not work in silos. We can't be on an island by ourselves. And most of the people that are in our organizations are that lead areas in our organization lead organizations of their own. And we've just brought them all together in unity. And so I can pick up the phone and call the executive director of the ACLU or the Culinary Union or the SIU. I saw our very own Reverend Sharpton build relationships with unions. And when he had his relationship with Mary Kay from SEIU, I went back and told my SEIU president, I said, I want to build the same thing on the ground here that Reverend Sharpton has built nationally. And so we take all those organizations and we are united, and when we hit the streets or we hit the doorsteps of our legislators, we're all in unity. And one of my mentors, Bishop Bill McDonald, said, if you try to put your finger through a wall, you probably break your finger. Mm-hmm. But you can put your fist through a wall. Yes. And we as organizations, we've combined to be that fist that can go through any wall.
Excellent, thank you. Gerlin, I don't have to tell you that the Haitian community has endured TPS instability and mass deportations. I'm just putting it on mildly by saying endured instability. Now, too often the response from the broader movement has been episodic rather than sustained. What do you see as the biggest missed opportunity in how advocates have responded to attacks on Haitian immigrants? And what would it look like if the Black Church and NAN chapter stood with Haitian immigrants as family? Give us one concrete example with the time that you have available that can help us bring ourselves that information back to the pews.
Thank you so much, Monique. And I think I can begin by one of the facts that you shared earlier. And I want to highlight that 1 out of every 4 Black person in the United States is either an immigrant or a child of immigrant. That includes Vice President Harris, that includes President Obama, that includes Shirley Chisholm, that includes all the other people who have become a part of what we call Black America, the Black diaspora. So when we are talking about immigration, we have to understand and center the realities that when I woke up this morning as a Haitian American woman, I woke up this morning as a Black American woman, I woke up this morning as an immigrant.
That's right. That's right. Y'all, we can clap for that. That's right.
Thank you so much. And also understanding how we are unfortunately carrying the load of a system that is rooted in a scarcity mentality, in a divide and conquer, and continues to really center that within Black America, within underprivileged communities. So therefore, when we look into the Black churches that I was raised into, When the Holy Spirit moves, it moves for us to be able to address the injustice. It needs to be able to move us to welcome people with dignity, with love and compassion, regardless of where they come from, but specifically when they are part of the Black diaspora. And we see, thank you so much, beloveds. And when we're addressing those issues, and within our Black community, there's a divide and conquer. And they say, we don't want Haitians and Jamaican like my sister Patrice from Undarker Black, or my brother Amadou, right? But how are we centering those realities? How are we applying what we need? And I do believe institutions like the Black churches specifically, wherever we might find them in Mississippi or in New York City, I think we can embrace that reality and push back against this narrative of divide and conquer. Because we have to remember, my family, Patrice's family, were dropped one boat stop away from your family that was sold to a plantation in North Carolina. So because the system, the colonial system, the white supremacist system was able to divide our families, doesn't mean we are no longer family. It means that it is time for us to come back together, to address our past, and create a future that includes all of us. When they are shooting Black people in the streets, they don't care if I have an accent.
That's right.
When they are shooting Black people in the street, they don't care if I was born in Haiti. Because I remember Abdelwima in New York City right here. I remember Amadou Diallo in New York City right here. As we are really pushing into addressing George Floyd, and we have to understand our lives are interconnected. So we are family, and as the church, right, I believe we are called to be Christ-like, and I believe that regardless of what religion, what belief you practice, at the center of it all, love, care, compassion is what we are called to do. So I think one of the things that we do at the Haitian Bridge Alliance is bring this immigration narrative, bring that into social justice and racial justice, and center that in human rights so we can make sure we address those in a Black context as well.
Thank you, Gerlane. My fellow Esquire, let's chop up some law for a minute. Dorian, you focus on policing and enforcement. The administration has expanded 287G agreements, I'll let you explain what that is, that turn local police into ICE agents. I think it's turned them into thugs. Organizers tell us that by the time a lawsuit is filed, the family is often already gone, therefore no remedy remains available. How do you see the relationship between legal strategies and on-the-ground organizing, and what should advocates be doing now to build power alongside litigation?
First and foremost, thank you, my fellow Esquire. And I love the framing of this question because I get to talk about a book that meant so much to me early in my practice. It was written by the late Harvard professor Lonnie Guinier, and the title is Lift Every Voice. And I love that book because, as a young lawyer, it taught me and showed me the importance of engaging with community being a lawyer. Because sometimes we descend on communities, oftentimes from cities in the north, thinking that we know every damn thing, thinking that we can tell communities what they need and what they want, often with the legal strategy already in mind. But that book calls us in to serve a higher purpose. And that purpose is journeying alongside community, arm in arm, helping the community realize its goals and actualize its power. Litigation in the law is limiting just by the construct of it, right? Lawsuits are reductionist by nature. Oftentimes, at its best, it can get you some far off goal, but oftentimes, you're fighting for rights that are already due to you. So as practitioners, as lawyers, as we engage community, if we're developing legal strategy without the people, we're missing the point. If we're focused so much on what happens inside of the courtroom without working alongside community to help them build power and develop strategies that they can implement and enforce and effectuate after we leave, then we're missing the point. Litigation is just a tool, right? An important one, but it's not the only tool. It's a tool just like policy is a tool, just like advocacy is a tool, just like agitation in the streets is a tool. It's just a tool that has to work alongside the people and organizers for it to be sustainable. A legal strategy without an effective organizing strategy component alongside of it is unsustainable, and I would challenge any lawyer, if they're worth anything, if they say that litigation can stand on its own, they're not a good one. To your second question, what can organizers be doing right now to build power alongside active litigation, whether it has to do with immigration or civil rights? Look, the fact of the matter is you have a panel in front of you full of brilliant strategists in the immigration space. And we work on behalf of some of the most vulnerable communities right now because the targets is on our backs, right? But if you look on the back of yourself, you've got a target on yours too. If you think that this administration has not already come for you, then you haven't been paying attention. We have a case in front of the Supreme Court right now that questions the idea of birthright citizenship that was born after the Civil War. The amendment was added to the Constitution to protect the children of slaves, but it extends to people who are born in this country. And we are facing an administration that is looking to change the rules and on its own define who belongs and who doesn't. And if you think that that don't include you, then you're missing the point. So what can organizers do right now to build power alongside legal strategies? Number one, use your voice. When people come for your neighbors, you speak up, right? Number two, tap into the networks that are doing work on behalf of immigrant communities and provide resources because these communities need it. And last but not least, join some of these organizations up here, myself, Patrice with Undocumented Black, Gerlene Joseph with the Haitian Bridge Alliance, and join us in our calls to Congress as we ask them to help us improve our immigration system. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said that part about litigation just not being the be-all, end-all, because I do think as litigators, as advocates, sometimes we forget that even though we may feel like we have capes on, that the work is actually on the ground. That's why, for sure, in the tradition of Thurgood Marshall, at the school I graduated from, Howard University School of Law, HU.
You know.
We were taught not just to be lawyers, but social engineers, recognizing, Latrice, that the work is in community. You are on the front lines in Austin, and you use your radio platform, Iron Sharpens Iron, to speak truth to the community every week. In a state like Texas, my home state, God help us, where the headlines are often filled with fear regarding SB4 and deportation. How are you using your voice to keep the community encouraged? And what is the one marching order you have for chapters in other states to help protect our neighbors in the South?
So, although I'm in Austin, Texas, I want to do a disclaimer. I'm originally from Chicago. I just live in Texas. So, but I've been there a long time. And I just want to say, you know, I heard him say about the American dream, and I always ask, what the hell is the American dream at this point? As a person who is a founder, I've been in this work of reentry before reentry was a buzzword. I founded a nonprofit organization in Austin, Texas, that works with people who have previously been incarcerated and their families. And so talking about Senate Bill 4, I actually wrote some things down because my work in reentry, I deal with a system that already criminalizes behavior, cycle people through jails, and separate families. So Senate Bill 4 takes that same system and gives it a new group of people to target. And we do need to be concerned about it. And let me be clear, Senate Bill 4 is not just an immigration law. It is the expansion of the criminal justice system into immigration. Because what the law does is create a new state crimes for immigration, allowing local police to arrest people for crossing the border and even pushing towards state level deportation. And I think, you know, what we really don't think about is that if you know about if you know about mass incarceration, you already know about Senate Bill 4, because that's basically what it is. And in Texas, we are plagued right now with the bolstering of not only people being incarcerated, but the jail holding facilities with no air conditioning in the state of Texas, which I know our MC knows, is so hot in Texas, sometimes you would like to pull your skin off. And so you're dealing in a place where they're actually putting people that they're getting immigrants, even youngsters, and putting them in these facilities with no air condition, a rogues gallery of people who are actually keeping these folks in custody and selling them drugs and this, that, and the other. This is actually going on in the immigration detention centers right now. And so it is something that is, this is not by an accident, this is intentional. And it's about money. Prison and everything, all this incarceration and stuff is about money. And you know what kills me is that, you know, I see people who jump into these areas of where they want to run nonprofits and 501c3s and get in business because you're trying to continue to make money on people's pain. We should be trying to make it where we're working ourselves out of a job and not more into a job. And that's what immigration is really doing right now. It is actually criminalizing people for their existence, not their behavior. And I feel like we have a definite responsibility to make sure that we are really helping our neighbor. Who is your neighbor? It's the person that's sitting next to you. It's the person that you go outside and you see, that is your neighbor. And you have to help your neighbor. How do you do that? You educate them. You stand with them when something is happening grossly wrong against them. You don't think about the fact that, you know, hey, they got on sneaks and I got on Ferragamo shoes, so I can't do that. We need to not separate the issues, because incarceration is what it is, and that's what immigration is, a new way of incarcerating a whole new set of people.
Thank you. So by way of segue into this next question, I want to point out that Black men in the United States are disproportionately over-incarcerated compared to all other peers, that they are more likely to be stopped, frisked, searched, arrested, jailed, assaulted, killed, that the number that we can actually count of wrongful arrests and incarceration in this country is climbing past 12,000 per month. That being said, it's no surprise, Amadou, that African men are the most targeted immigrant group in New York and across many other states. Yet the media barely acknowledges them. They are far more likely to face immigration hearings without an attorney, and many unscrupulous lawyers take advantage of their lack of resources. This raises some critical questions. What would a truly effective emergency plan look like for this vulnerable community, or for all of our vulnerable communities, before, during, and after raids? And how can NAN, the Black Church, and everyone in here, or who will watch this video later, and I hope it's a million of them, how can we step in starting tomorrow to ensure our people are ready the next time?
Thank you so much, Monique. Anyone here heard about the Canal Street raid when ICE came? Who is at Canal Street? Is it just Africans, or do we also have some of our Asian brothers?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is Africans and Asians, right? When ICE came over there, everyone they arrested, every single person, guess who he was? Okay. I came to New York, and I was walking down in Harlem, and I saw so many of our African brothers and sisters asking so many questions regarding immigration. Some of them were sleeping outside. And then I asked them, is the city helping? They said, well, listen, we don't know too much about what's going on. I said, no, there are actually plans budget that's been passed to help you guys, all right? And then I started to dig deeper. And then I started to learn that when I asked for answers, people were telling me, well, listen, some people prefer sleeping outside in the streets instead of hotels. I said, okay. So many of these brothers and sisters came into this city uncounted for. And when it was time to allocate budget, it didn't go to them. I say that to say, we can only count on our neighbors. We can only count on our brothers and sisters that are here, the church, the protesters, the organizers, because the truth is, black people from across the board are at the bottom of the barrel. That's just the truth. This is not an attack, it's just a fact. How can we better prepare before a raid takes place? Well, check on your neighbors. If this is an individual who is most likely to be targeted, speak with them. Have a plan of action. In the event that a raid takes place, who's going to take care of the baby? Right? In the event that a raid takes place, how will they be able to pay their mortgages? Right? Do you know resources that maybe they do not have, or maybe they do not know about? Right? In the event that a raid takes place, well, in that case, speak with attorneys. Go to attorneys, give them your neighbor's name. Actually stand up and fight if you're able to, as long as you do it peacefully. But we know what that looks like, right? In the country. What we've been able to do at the Amadou Lee Foundation over the past few months is to prepare what is called a habeas petition. And pretty much a habeas petition is what you do is you pretty much tell the government, the judge, the federal judge, whether this arrest was lawful or not, right? So we've been able to weed out and look at communities that are most likely to be targeted and say, all right, let us pre-register you just in case this happens, right? However, nonprofits, black nonprofits, I can only speak on my experience, there's no funding. There's no funding. It's like, I came into New York and I'm looking at people like, so we've been working all of these things. I see that, such and such got $30 million, but I'm looking at all my black organizers and black nonprofit leaders, nothing is going to them. So for me, speak with your politicians as well. Are they preparing those nonprofits just in case things happen? Or are they not? Because it's nice to just sit over there and talk about, yes, Canal Street this, Canal Street that. Well, I'll tell you what happened on Canal Street. When that raid happened, it was our nonprofit that stood up and got those people out of there, out of detention centers. Therefore, it is important for us to diversify the funds that are going to nonprofits. It is also important for the church, for organizations to say, you know what, let us host nonprofits fundraisers for these brothers and sisters, because 9 times out of 10, we don't have time to do fundraising. Things are happening. We're on the ground, and you know what I mean? It's on and popping. We know that with this administration. So for me, there are multiple levels to prepare for a raid. And it is important, again, to highlight the importance of habeas petition, right? Because with that petition, you are able to challenge the lawfulness of that arrest. And if that arrest is unlawful, especially if it's if you're in New York, 9 times out of 10, a judge is gonna release that individual. So tell your neighbors, especially if they're immigrants, to make sure that they get in touch with all these amazing brothers and sisters that are sitting here who are doing incredible jobs, because then if things happen, they're able to stand up for for that. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Amadou. Patrice, I don't want to skip this. If you could tell us, last month UndocuBlack led 125 organizations in a letter to the Congressional Black Caucus regarding TPS and Operation Paris. Why was it important to deliver this demand through a Black-led organization? And either from you or from Reverend Bush, what does that partnership look like? And what made NAN decide this was a priority in 2026?
Thank you, Monique. 125 organizations when we still have so many problems going on, and to sign on to a Black immigrant letter, National Action Network made sure that they were at the top of that list. And that is power, right? And you know, you give immigrants just a little bit, you give Black people in general, because I'm gonna be very specific, just a little bit, we multiply that and make it a lot. You give a Black woman just a little bit, we are really going to multiply that and make it a lot. And we did just that. We are so close to actually passing what's the wonky term for it is a discharge petition in the House. In the House that is controlled by Republicans, we got a bipartisan bill that would allow for temporary protected status, would allow for work permits for 500,000 Haitian families. 500 million. Wow. We're not there yet, so this is where I'm gonna need help. Whoever you can call up who is your congressperson, make that call, keep going, name drop, you know, National Action Network, let them know they're behind this. But that letter moved Congressional Black Caucus. They were mad at us. They were like, why are you sending us a letter? We're already your friend. And we're like, well, if you're our friend, then you will actually now make some demands on our behalf. Because my friends have to show me that they're my friends. Yes. They did that though, and so the bill was introduced by Ayanna Pressley. We have 218 members of Congress, including 4 Republicans on it. This is bipartisan, and we are hoping to have it pass the House before April 29, which is when the Supreme Court will take up the Haitian TPS case as well as Syria. And so that's power, and we've got demands, and that little letter that may not seem like much, we took that, ran with it, and we're able to get to 218 in the House on a discharge petition on immigration, on Black immigration, which I was told has never been done before.
So we're going to want everyone to call 202-224-3121. That is the way to connect to your member of Congress. I'll say it again, 202-224-3121, and tell them what you expect them to do on this and other legislation. We are in lightning round. I want to get through 2 questions quickly, so I'm going to give you each a sentence for each one, all right? Starting with Murad, I want to ask you to finish this sentence honestly. Honestly. One misconception about immigrants that we need to address honestly in our communities is?
That immigrants are taking away from others, which is completely untrue. And here in the state of New York, immigrants contribute over $81 billion in local and state tax dollars, and have the spending power of over $250 billion. They're paying into systems that they can never benefit from. So just uplifting that, and the number of the 81 billion local and state tax dollars includes undocumented people and documented people.
And that might have been 12 sentences, but it was good. Okay.
Well, nonsense.
Patrice, one misconception about immigrants that we need to address honestly in our communities is?
The concept of today for me, tomorrow for you, or in Jamaican, today for me, tomorrow for you, which is that they're going after those people, they won't come after me. That's a lie.
George, one misconception, honestly, what is it?
There are no good immigrants. There are no bad immigrants. There's no such thing as the worst of the worst. So let's reject that notion. We're all the same community.
Reverend Bush?
That immigrants commit more crime. Immigrants commit more crime. They're in here to change their life, and they have an interest in staying out of trouble. And so the studies show that immigrants, especially undocumented immigrants, do not commit more crime than natives do.
Gerlin, one misconception about immigrants we need to address honestly.
The fact that we have an immigration issue in the United States, because the reality is, as the current person in the White House mentioned, they welcome immigrants who are blonde hair, blue eyes from white countries, and they reject immigrants from black countries and other countries. So therefore, we do not, and I repeat, we do not have an immigration issue in the United States. We have an issue based on anti-black racism.
Dorian, one misconception about immigrants we need to address honestly.
That our struggles are not inextricably tied to each other. A weakened Constitution hurts all of us. Repealing or rolling back the rule of law to attack one community means that this same administration can roll back the rule of law to attack you.
Latrice.
That immigrants take our jobs. There's really a misconception about immigrants taking jobs when actually most immigrants do jobs that we don't want to do. And the value of immigrants has definitely impacted our communities significantly so that they take away jobs. I think that's the biggest thing.
Amadou, one misconception about immigrants that we need to address honestly.
They eat rats or cats.
So just the humanity of it.
I think, I mean, we have to address it, right? That's the narrative that's been pushed, right? And it's ridiculous. It's part of the campaign that made so many people not go to Africa, right? Because they see Africans as jumping in trees and doing all of those different things. Meanwhile, it is very important for our people to understand that even those, I'm going off a little bit, but even the resources of Africa, that's really ours. And if I say ours, I mean ours, right? Because it is our ancestors, right? So I think it is very important to understand that that division does not serve anyone. Right?
Rapid fire. Oops, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Rapid fire continues. One thing that each person who's here today and those who are going to watch, one thing that can be marching orders that you would want to see them do starting not tomorrow, but today, that actually changes the outcome for a family on the line. Back to you, Murad. One thing, one sentence. Let's go.
Demand that your New York State representatives, your state assembly, state senator, step up and pass the New York for All Act, because that's going to protect all 19 million of us New Yorkers.
Patrice. I'm sorry, Latrice. Well, which one? Latrice first. Yes.
I'm sorry, can you ask your question one more time?
One thing, marching orders that they can do that's going to change the bottom line for immigrants today.
Stop treating this as a separate issue. It's a criminal justice issue.
Patrice.
Make sure the SAVE Act doesn't pass.
Woo!
Wow.
How do we make sure it doesn't pass? 10 more seconds.
Call your congressperson, vote, make noise, make sure that you can vote, and make sure that we actually have elections in 2028, because there's a real possibility that's not going to happen.
George. 5 seconds.
We are living in under a fascist government, so let's not be afraid to have those difficult conversations with our family. Let's question why people want to go into the military. Let's question why some people want to go into the federal government for a safe employment. It is a crucial time in American history. We have to confront these truths.
Reverend Rob.
All elections are local, and you must vote. In Nevada, our governor won by 10,000 votes over the previous governor, and we lost the supermajority by 1 seat. He vetoed 187 bills that are important to immigrants and to our people. You have to get out and vote no matter what city you are in.
And Reverend L is not gonna come out here and get me. Dorian, come on. One thing.
Resources, give your time, talent, treasure.
Amadou.
Resources, support your local nonprofits.
And on behalf of this esteemed and wonderful panel, Monique Presley, I'm going to say again what was said on the end. Not just vote, register somebody to vote. Make sure your whole household is registered to vote. Work in your neighborhood to get rid of this regime so that we can all be safe. Thank you for being here with us today. I hope you learned something.